Welcome to the regular meeting of the Revere School Committee. Today is Tuesday, November 21st, 2017 at 6:15 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, today we're going to start off with the student roll call.
Mr. Ferranti?
Here.
Ms. Cravalisi?
Here.
Mr. McGuire?
Here.
Mrs. Rizzo? Mr. Sinella?
Here.
Ms. Ty?
Here.
Mayor Arrigo?
Okay. Recognition. Okay, we're going to start with the student representative report. Henry? Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Good evening, everybody. So, real quick, I just kind of wanted to talk about what was addressed during the school improvement meeting. And there's a school improvement meeting here in RHS from 3 to 4 p.m. every third Wednesday of the month at the in the East Wing Conference Room. And last time they talked about the school calendar and how some teachers had concerns about the school calendar being addressed so late into the year. Whereas I think one teacher was telling me that the draft was March and they kind of prefer it, like, for them to have a concrete school calendar schedule in January, and then, like, at that time also have, like, a draft for the following year. Because, for example, Reading High School has their school calendars 2 years ahead of time. So then, like, it just facilitates with student activities and, like, for example, graduation. And there are a lot of parents from different countries who want to visit every year and go on vacation. So it just benefits a lot of families here in Revere, knowing when their students get out of school, approximately. And that's it for my report. Oh, actually, there's a Thanksgiving game also this Thursday at 12 p.m. at the Winthrop Stadium. 10 a.m., sorry. 10 a.m. at the Winthrop Stadium. And, yeah, that's about it.
Henry, who do you anticipate is going to win that game?
There's... Oh, yeah, Powder Puff game. The Revere girls did a thing, 20-0.
Yeah.
Whipped Winthrop. And Revere will most definitely win because there's not a chance that Winthrop will beat us.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you for bringing that to our attention about the school calendar. Okay, next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Cravalisi. So the first, we're going to go a little bit out of order with the superintendent's report, and we're actually going to start with item C. We have several presentations tonight, and we want to start with our youngest presenters so that they can go home, eat supper, finish their homework, and go to bed, right? Is that the order of operations? Yeah, totally. And then we have two presentations after the Wayland School presents on the Leader in Me program, which they started work on last summer, and teachers have done a lot of professional development. Students have engaged in this work as well, and families, the entire staff of the Wayland School has been part of that project. After we hear about that, we've got two presentations from our Revere High School students who are going to talk about some life experience trips that they'd like permission from the school committee to participate in. After that, we have some academic excellence awards that we'd like to give out. This is a statewide recognition. We'll talk more about that in a couple minutes. And then we're going to review the district goals, our progress thus far in the school year. And also, Dr. Mokaber is going to share some information on MCAS results that we recently got from the state. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Principal Flynn up and who will introduce her team. And the Wayland is going to talk to us about the Leader in Me.
Thank you very much for having us this evening.
There we go.
Thank you very much for having us this evening. We are very excited about the staff as well as the students that are joining us to be able to share this opportunity with you. We'd like Dr. McCabe or Dr. Kelly, if you could please click on the grade 2 link from Ms. Zabilski's class just to kick us into gear for Leader and Me.
So, the Leader in Me is a whole school initiative that focuses on the development of 21st century leadership and life skills. As we're witnessing these skills develop, we're also witnessing a shift in the culture at the A.C. Wayland School to one of student empowerment. Students and staff are adapting the 7 habits of effective people, and in doing so, we're becoming adept at goal setting, collaborating, critical thinking, and self-directed learning.
The core belief of the Leader in Me is that every child is capable of being a leader. I truly feel this has had such a positive impact in building community in our school. Every adult who interacts with students has been trained in the Leader in Me. It is truly a whole school initiative and has created an exciting new success mindset. Within this mindset, self-motivated learning begins with the individual student and shifts towards collaboration and synergizing with the belief that together we can accomplish more.
Hi, my name is Jessica Farrow, and I am a 3rd grader at the Wayland School. The first habit from Leader in Me is habit number 2, begin with an end in mind. The activity we worked on was to create a personal mission statement where we thought about behavior and values that are important to us and will help us success in life. This is my personal mission statement. I believe in a magnificent, hard-working, and positive life. The road may be challenging and the future unknown, but I know I will not give up. I am not perfect, but I know with hard work and determination I can achieve anything. I am hardworking. I am not a quitter. I am creative. I am Jessica Farrow.
Hi, my name is Salvatore Bonacetta. The next habit we would like to tell you about is habit 3, put first things first. We began class talking about the word priority means. Next, we began a 3-column chart. Big rocks were the most important things, pebbles were the things that matter a little, and sand, which would represent all the little things that don't really matter. Some examples of 3rd graders' big rocks are eating 3 healthy meals a day, brushing your teeth, and taking a shower.
Hi, my name is Naomi Tay, and this
This is a poster of my bucket which shows you what my big rocks are. I have learned that these things are the most important and have to be done first. Some of my big rocks were going to school, studying for my test, and completing my homework. One of my pebbles were cleaning my room. One of my examples of sand was playing outside. We wanted to share this habit with you and have you think about the big rocks in your own life. Here is a recording sheet for you to think about your big rocks and pebbles. Now Nicole, Grace, and Jordan will take you to about a group project their 5th graders class have started.
My name is Nicole Da Silva. I wanted to raise money for the hurricane victims in Puerto Rico, so I came up with a plan by starting with the habit, begin with the end in mind. My idea for a fundraiser was to have grade 5 students show their talents at lunch. It is an example of the win-win habit for the students, lunch ladies, and Puerto Rico. It is a win-win because the students win by getting to show their talents. The lunch ladies win because fewer kids misbehave because they're either performing or watching instead. Also, Puerto Rico wins because they will have help with the devastation. I told the idea to my teacher, and she said it was great. So I talked to the class and asked if they wanted to do it. They did, and we organized an entire plan by using the habit for first things first.
My name is Grace Moreno. The first part of our plan was to let everyone know about the talent show. The students who are good at art and making posters formed the publicity committee. They designed a poster with all the information about participating. They had to use the habit, seek first to understand, then to be understood. To be sure, they included all the necessary information. The posters explained that anyone who wants to participate has to fill in an application and pay $1 to enter. We put up posters in the 5th grade hallway to put our plan into action.
My name is Jordan Martelli. The next part of our plan involved the schedule committee and the donation committee. The schedule committee made a recording sheet. Each day, members of the schedule committee collect applications, check performance ideas to make sure everything is appropriate, schedule a time for the performance, and submit it all to the teacher for final approval. The donation committee records what we collect each day and gives any donations to the teacher to lock up for the night. This is an example of the habit synergize because it all comes together when everyone involved has done their part.
On the day of the performance, Grace and Jordan put the equipment in the cafeteria that we need for that day. During the last 10 minutes of lunch, the students perform. The 7 habits have really helped us to be successful with this project. We hope to inspire others to use the 7 habits to reach their goals.
As you can see, the 7 habits of Leader and Me have had a huge impact on the A.C. Wayland School, and we continue to have that wonderful experience all year long.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Principal Flynn. Do we have any questions? No? No questions? The kids did such a great job that they explained everything so well. We're so proud of you kids, and we just want to, continue for you to continue working on the 7 habits. It's a very great Leader in Me program.
So just to comment for the parents out there who are watching this program, one of the things that we always seek to do as a district is pilot new programs. In one school that has embraced a new program, and see how it works and see how it goes. And already, just 3 months after the AC Wayland has started this, the other principals are saying, what's going on over there? What's happening over there? We want to see that. We want to know about that. Can we do that? And that's often how we spread programs throughout the district, is one school will take on the leadership role of piloting. We have these fabulous kids that step up and be leaders themselves and demonstrate that. And before we know it, other schools and other parents and other teachers are interested in the same program. So we've already had inquiries about the Leader in Me program, and we'll certainly be pursuing them for something across the district. Thank you all very much. All right. The next presentation from the superintendent's report is going to be from a group of students in Miss Hamilton and Miss Kaur's advisory program at Revere High School. And they want to share with the committee some ideas they had about a service project that would be their capstone project, meeting that requirement for senior year. So they have some information that they will share with you.
Good evening.
Nod at me when you want me to click this.
Sure, thank you. My name is Arthur Lacerda. This is Azra Lakachow. And we'll be presenting on behalf of Miss Jennifer Kaur's advisory and Miss Melissa Hamilton's advisory. The proposal we have today is a service mission to Texas, Houston, Fort Bend, and those areas in particular, areas that have been affected by the hurricane and other recent natural disasters there.
While we're in Houston, we'd want to, oh wait, did you just read that right? Okay, so while we're in Houston, we'd partner with Fort Bend, Katy ISD, and we already reached out to some elementary schools, and they'd let us come in and read to the children and possibly tutor with some of the kids, the younger kids who in other classes. And we would help out with Habitat for Humanity. There's a park they're currently building, and along, like, our high school students would help along with the other community members in Texas. And then we would also volunteer at a food bank in Texas, donating food, helping give out food, donating clothes, and yep.
As of right now, we expect our cost per student to be $470. That's taking into account everything they might have to pay for, food, the plane ticket, housing, and all of that. The overall price would be $10,910 or $810. That's including the chaperones. We have three chaperones, Mr. Tershon, Miss Melissa Hamilton, and Miss Jennifer Kaur in the back. Mr. Tershon isn't present. Next slide, please.
So we've already had a few people willing to donate for this fundraiser for our mission, and we're reaching out to private contacts for private sponsorships, and that's our current list. And yeah.
So the list you see before you are different fundraising ideas we've had. In the past, student councils for respective classes have reached out to restaurants and other local businesses to see if they can make a partnership night where a certain percentage of their profits go to that organization. In this case, we would be the organization receiving the profits. Other fundraisers include raffling off signed Bruins items. We have a connection to somebody who works for the Bruins, and there's a lot of Bruins fans in the area. local businesses on with their names on our t-shirts. So especially for local businesses around here who could have consumer markets in Texas, their local businesses don't get much representation in Houston or Texas, of course. So if we go there with their names on our t-shirts, they can see our city, where we come from, the local businesses that we have, all that we have to offer. And another idea is a GoFundMe page. I know last year a girl from the RHS track team qualified for their national competition. She started a GoFundMe page to raise funds, and it worked for her. And that was just an individual thing. Now we have a service mission, so we're hoping that a GoFundMe page would bring in even more profits, helping our fundraising. Next slide, please. That's the conclusion of the slides. So that's the conclusion of our proposal, and we're welcome to any questions.
When would you be going, and for how long would you stay?
We would be going February 9th to February 11th. So a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, we would have to miss Friday of school, but we've tried to pick a day that's not on any sort of important exam day.
Mm-hmm.
We've tried to steer clear of any big deadlines like that.
So just for the logistics, so you would leave here Friday morning and come home? I'm trying to think of the school calendar for next year. So you'd be back, so you'd be there really for about 2.5 days?
Logistically, that's something we still have to discuss.
Oh, okay.
Before we wanted to get approval before we put the dates into stone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
that makes sense. All right. And how many people would be going?
Approximately 30, including
wow.
students and chaperones.
That's a lot.
20, sorry.
20? Good. Maybe a little less ambitious for the first time that you do it. Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. I commend you on having that sense of social justice.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
And who are the, how many students in total? 15? 16?
Approximately
chaperones
20.
are included in that?
Yes.
So
So
actual
I
students.
can tell you that there are a total of 19 students in the 2 advisories, and it's anticipated that a couple of them may opt not to go on the trip. They would still participate in the capstone project by doing research and other pieces of the project, part of the planning and that, before the kids who chose to actually do the trip would depart. So they anticipate about 15 or 16 kids, and the 3 chaperones will attend.
Have you raised many funds yet for?
No, we wanted to hold back on fundraising before, until we got permission from the school committee.
Did you have anything planned as far as like lodging, where you'd be staying, the itinerary for the 3 days that you'd be there?
On the Friday, we would like to work with the schools in those areas. Saturday, we'd like to work with Habitat for Humanity, and Sunday, we'd like to work with the food bank. But we'd be willing to do any one of those for any of the 3 days. We also have to work with their schedule too.
Any other questions? No. Freddie?
Be commended. It sounds very, very adventurous, but worthwhile. Has this been approved by the principal and the administration prior to? If we grant approval, we don't want to have, you didn't check with us first, so you filtered down, so we have the final say, is that correct?
Yes, sir. We made sure to follow the chain of command.
Thank you.
So I think that what the group is looking for is at least an endorsement from the committee so that they know that they can continue to pursue this mission, understanding that they have to get a lot more specific information before they would have final approval to go on the trip. but they want to be able to start their fundraising, solidify which school district they're going to partner with, and really start mapping out their itinerary for each of the 3 days. So I don't know if the committee.
If it meets with the committee's approval, we'll do a roll call.
Okay.
Well, we
Roll
need
call.
a motion.
Motion.
I
made
move that we give permission to this Senior Advisory Service Mission Capstone Project to continue to pursue a more specific plan for both fundraising and for the mission itself, and keep the school committee informed of what you're doing, because I'm sure we'd like to help too.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Ferranti?
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Sinella?
Yes.
Ms. Ty?
Yes.
That was painless.
Good job. The next item on the superintendent's report is another presentation from students at Revere High School. This is a group of kids who have been working closely with Mr. Fellows, and they are proposing a trip to New York for the high school Model UN conference. And I know that Mr. Fellows and his students are here to share their information with us as well. Yeah, why don't I, what happened here? Why don't I see it? Okay.
It's split into two parts because we could attach the whole thing.
So I'm going to guess that this one's the first part. What do you think? Am I right?
You are.
Okay.
Hello everyone, good evening. We are a group of students that are part of the Model United Nations Club here at the high school, and over the past years we have worked with Ms. Fellows very closely. This upcoming March we're interested in attending the National High School Model United Nations Conference in New York City, and this is its 44th year running. And throughout these 44 years, the National High School Model UN Conference has been able to really develop a very strong reputation in the international community, and they have been able to express to many different teachers, students, participants of international affairs that this is truly one of the best conferences and one of the most prestigious conferences that students are able to go through.
Hello. This is also going to be the largest conference that we ever attended. There's going to be 5,000 other students participating, and we're going to get to meet with students from 75 countries around the world. And one of the the most fun parts is that we're going to get to be inside the actual United Nations headquarters for our opening and closing ceremonies.
So as Revere High School students representing the school at the United Nations, we'll be representing the country of the Dominican Republic, and we'll likely have the honor of meeting with actual delegates from the Dominican Republic at the event. And we'll be participating in 3 separate committees. The first committee would be the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes, and they will be discussing 2 different topics that I am having trouble seeing right now, but security on the Caribbean islands, and then the gender disparity in fight against terrorism.
How are you guys? The second committee that we're going to be participating in is the United Nations International Children's Fund, and the 2 topics that we'll be talking about will be access to drinking water for rural children and child wishes in sub-Saharan Africa. The third and final committee that we'll be participating in is the Organization of American States, and we'll be discussing resource extraction in Latin America and human rights violations by transnational organized crime groups. And a great thing about these 3 different committees is that all 6 different topics raise awareness to all these all the students that are going to be there, and even though they might not affect us directly, they just really help us to learn about our environment outside of Revere and help kind of expose us to a lot of different opportunities, but a lot of different issues around the world, which will kind of help us become more well-rounded people after this committee. Thank you.
So after hearing all of that, that little spiel, so just, you see a lot of words up there, but just to summarize the benefits. So on our end, what are we going to be gaining from going? Speaking for myself, and I'm sure for these guys as well, going to a number of different conferences that we've done, both at MIT, Northeastern, as well as a few other, multiple different conferences. There are just so many different experiences that you wouldn't find within the context of a classroom, that go beyond just textbooks and learning facts and dates. You get to learn how to communicate effectively with a diverse group of people. For example, Model UN at MIT, you're meeting people from places such as Qatar to Japan to South Korea. So there's just a wide variety of students that you get to meet and really build skills to connect and interact with different individuals. And also, like Christian said, just being able to be more well aware of global issues is something that's been, really fun and really insightful.
And so apart from the actual simulation itself, there's also going to be a variety of guest speakers throughout our time at the conference. This would include, in the past, it's been people like famous actors or prominent figures within the international community. So there would be things like that. Also things like skill building workshops, which we've seen in the past at previous conferences that we've been to, which further help to build our negotiating skills with these kids that we'll be interacting with from all over the world. And in addition, as Alejandro mentioned earlier, we also expect to meet directly with the people who actually represent the Dominican Republic. And so that's something we're definitely looking forward to.
Second half, yeah. Right.
Okay, so one final benefit of this national conference is that we kind of get, like Christian and Fatim Zara already mentioned, we're going to be meeting with students not only from Massachusetts, but all over the world. Like in previous conferences, I've made friends with people from China and Peru, and you get to meet all these people, and you get to become a global citizen because you're learning about issues that aren't just directly affecting us, but stuff that's happening around the world. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to wrap up, if you could go to the last slide, yeah. So this group of students is extraordinary. Sorry, I should get to the microphone, but this group of students has been with the Model UN program here at the high school, some of them since their freshman year. They've won numerous awards for public speaking, for negotiation, for position papers that they write, for best delegations as well. And I am certain that, as they have in the past, they will continue to represent Revere High School to the highest level possible. I'm also wanted to say that we will be interacting with not just students from around the country, but other schools within Massachusetts, including some of the finest public and private schools in Massachusetts, and that this group of students, Sarah, Fatim Zara, Christian, Alejandro, Megan, and Riaz, have always done the utmost in preparation. They've always treated others with perfect respect and been able to cooperate with them very, very dynamically and effectively. And I'm certain that they'll continue to represent us well when we're in New York City. I have no question that they will be mature and responsible, and I have no doubts about their character. So I just wanted to endorse them in that way. This trip would be from March 7th, which is a Wednesday, through March 10th, which is a Saturday. So they would miss 3 days of school. And we're required to stay at a particular hotel, the Hilton Midtown in Manhattan. Some of the sessions will be held there in conference rooms there, as well as was previously mentioned, at the United Nations building itself.
Any questions, Carol?
Yeah, I have a question. Did you choose the Dominican Republic, or did somebody choose that for you?
So there are certain requirements. You can choose among an array of countries to represent, but it depends on how many people you'll be bringing with you. So we didn't have enough people to represent the United States or Russia or something. Instead, we had a limited choice. Dominican Republic was a perfect fit, actually.
And for the moment, I've lost track of their excellence. Are they all juniors? Or
They're all seniors
All
who have, as I said, been
grew
with
up.
us for quite a while. Many of them, so they've been performing really well all along. So they're all experienced. They've all been to multiple conferences at MIT, at Northeastern. Some of them participated in the All-American Conference, which was held in Cambridge last year. And I don't know, this is kind of their swan song now.
Well, they were great in Myopoly. I do remember that. You know, we had interesting discussions there.
They're all also taking AP Gov currently, all of them.
Oh. Wow, certainly it's a great trip. Are there any concerns for security?
Well, I guess it's always an issue, but hopefully we'll be fine.
You're going to stay in that one hotel?
We're going to stay in that one hotel, yeah. And
is that sponsored by the Model UN?
Well, they block out certain rooms for that hotel, so there'll be quite a few students staying there who are involved in the conference.
Well, it sounds exciting. Thank you, Madam.
Madam Chairman? I beg to differ. You're not missing 3 days of school. You're enhancing mega all the way up to freshman year in college. I mean, this is something you don't find in textbooks. I can remember taking kids to Washington, D.C., and we thought that was the cat's wow. And here you are, I mean, the UN building itself, it just speaks volumes, especially what's going on in the world today. Aside from newspapers and the media playing it up, you're going to be an actual participant. And I think you're to be commended for it. And you're all very well versed, and personally, I congratulate you and for working with them. But the staying power to have made your senior year without diversion speaks volumes also. It means enough to sacrifice, and I'm sure there's sacrifice coming somewhere, giving up this or that. But you're a credit, and well, curiously, have you people decided where you're going to college?
I would love to tell you.
Madam Chairperson, if we could take, well, but the experiences that you're garnishing, any admission officer would have to look very carefully to, you know, it's not basket weaving one. I mean, this is. So again, I can speak for the committee, and you to be congratulated, and possibly when you come back, maybe spend some time with us and let us know what's going on. But again, thank you for your time.
Do you have any other questions? Any other members have any questions? No? Mr. Fellows, we want to thank you for that presentation. I know you've been running this trip for quite some time now with great success. You did give us a detailed itinerary of, you know, your whole time that you'll be there, and we really appreciate that.
Yes. So this group is in particular looking for permission to attend the trip. They've completed all the necessary paperwork, and they're ready to hopefully have your endorsement.
Okay, Carol?
I'll move that we give permission to the Revere High School Model UN Group to attend the conference in New York City on February, I lost the date here. March, okay. March through what? March 7 through 10.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Ferranti?
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Sinella?
Yes.
Ms. Ty?
Yes. With the proviso that they come back and educate us.
Of course, of course.
Thank you.
So the next item on the superintendent's report is actually a presentation of two certificates to two of our students. Each year, the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents invites us to award certificates to a number of students depending on the size of our district. In our district, we have 2 awards that we wanted to give out tonight. They direct us in making sure that we select only highly academically advanced students to receive these awards. In addition, they have to be good citizens of the school and college intending. And they ask us to give these certificates at this time of year so that hopefully kids can include this award on their applications to college and on their resumes of work. It is a high achievement by all means. So I am very honored tonight to present these certificates of academic excellence. And I'll just read one of them. It says, having duly qualified under the standards prescribed by the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, the students are hereby awarded this certificate of academic excellence. In witness hereof, the seal of the association and the signature of the superintendent of schools affixed. And I am very, very proud tonight to present these awards to Amy Lee and Patrick Adolphus. So here's where I'm going to surprise the 2 of you. Patrick, I'm going to have you come up first. And if you could just tell the committee a little bit about yourself, your interests, and what you're thinking about in terms of college, okay? Congratulations to you.
Hi, so my name is Patrick Adolphus. I'm from Revere. Those are my parents. My mom is from Poland. My dad is Dominican. And for college, I applied to Harvard and UMass Amherst Early Action. And hobbies, I have a lot of hobbies. In my free time when I'm home and I have nothing better to do, I like to play the guitar a little bit, read. I like to do sports a lot too. And this is going to sound really nerdy, but I like to do calculus in my free time too.
That's not nerdy at all. You're going to be the second one.
Okay, so hello, my name is Amy, and that's my mom here today. Yes. Okay, so I applied to, my dream college is honestly Dartmouth College, right? And I think I'm a really good match for BC as well. And I want to study neuroscience and psychology because that really interests me and everything. My interests, I mean, in my free time, I think I'm really artistic, which is a nice break from the academics. So I like to draw, I like to read, I like to play piano and things like that. And is that it?
That's
yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank Would you like to do a 2-minute recess?
Thank you.
Or just
Thank you.
let
So much.
them go? Yeah. Recess?
2-minute recess. We are back from our 2-minute recess, and we're going to continue with the superintendent's report. Dr. Kelly?
Thank you, Ms. Gravellisi. So the next item on the superintendent's report is actually an update on the progress of the district goals. These are the goals that you approved just before the school year started, and which the district has focused on intently, and which we intend to continue to focus on throughout the year. But just to give you an update, I'm going to start with with the goal around assessment of and assessment for student learning. And in this goal, we had 4 main action steps, and I'm happy to say that we've completed the first one and the 4th one. Those were developing consistency with grading practices across subject areas, classes, and schools in the district. So we've achieved the action steps that we had placed under that piece. And the 4th one was providing professional development to teachers and administrators on effective assessment and grading. And we've also fully engaged that piece. That's still work that's going to be ongoing for the professional development in particular. Our partnership with the MCIEA and the Making Student Thinking Visible will go on throughout the course of the school year, but all of our steps are in place to make that happen. The other two action steps, the number 2 was to further develop mechanisms and procedures for reporting student performance through standards-based measures. And the third one, which was expand the work we've done in the area of growth mindsets to help students understand behaviors they can adopt and actions they can take to control their own achievement levels. The presentation we heard tonight from the Wayland School students speak to that third action step. But we marked these as yellow, indicating that we still had a lot more work to do in that area. We do have it planned and scheduled, but it's something that we didn't quite feel like saying that we were where we wanted to be at this point in this year. So we're going to continue to work on those. And there was one action step, working with parents and stakeholders to explore the expansion of the standards-based report card that we haven't embarked upon yet, and that's going to be an action item on our agenda for the citywide PTO meeting on December 6th. So I mention that now so that if there are any parents listening to this presentation who are interested in expanding this standard-based report card that we currently have in grades K through 2 up through 5th grade, which is a goal of the district, would be happy to have their voice at that meeting at 5:30 in the Learning Commons at Revere High School. So again, that's December 6th at 5:30 in the Learning Commons at Revere High School for the citywide PTO meeting. Our second goal is around building community, and we have made some progress in this area, marking several steps as green, indicating that we've made substantial progress on those, but there is a lot of this goal that we still need to dig into. For example, sharing student work by inviting parents in the community to academic showcases, including capstone project presentations, portfolio presentations, and then creating videos of these events to share on Revere TV. That's work that we anticipate will become more fluid as the year progresses when kids are finishing their major projects and we're doing capstone presentations and that work. So, but we still marked it yellow because we're not in a place where we can say we've made significant progress on that particular action step. Another one is working with the mayor's office to identify expansion opportunities for the community school. For example, working with the Heart Department and working through the neighborhood developers. We've had conversations about that, but I still feel like that's something that we need to do more significant work on. So that's been highlighted as a priority as well. And then the third grouping comes under creating effective feedback loops, where we still feel we have a lot of work to do. And that is really creating opportunities where we feel parents can engage with us and reach out to us with information as much as we reach out to them. Right now, I feel like a lot of the communication is very much us informing parents of what's going on. And what we want to do is open up the communication lines where parents are coming to us as much as we are going out to them with information. So we still have a lot of work to do in that area. And then another piece of that work is the surveys that we're doing with parents. We did get our surveys from last year back from the MCIEA, but they're still refining some of the questions. So we do anticipate that we'll be sharing those before the end of December. And that's information that we will put up on the website so that parents in the community can see how students and teachers rate the cultural components of each of their schools. We're just waiting for the final go-ahead from the MCIEA to post that information. And they told us last week that it should be out in another week or two, which would give us time to get it up on the website before the end of December. Our third goal, of course, is teaching all students. And we have made significant progress on this goal. We've already achieved a number of the action steps. But areas that we're going to continue to work with are partnering with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to implement new program, exit criteria, and performance level designations, which the state has set for us, but we need to work on implementing those. And then analyzing data from the surveys on school culture to determine where groups of students, particularly our ELLs, perceive inequities in their classroom experiences, so that we can close or remediate those those issues that the students perceive. And I just mentioned here that we do still need the final MCIEA data in order to support that. And then under our third action step was increasing opportunities for students to have voice and choice in their academic programs. And items we had under there were to increase the number of capstone projects at Revere High School by 10%, continue to refine portfolio requirements at Revere High School by reviewing outcomes from last year, and then engaging in partnerships with local colleges and universities to provide students with additional alternative pathways to high school and college completion. So I marked those yellow because we feel like those need the most work before we can say that we have achieved them. The capstone projects, I'm confident that we'll still meet that marker before the end of the year. There was a new capstone project presented here tonight. So hopefully those kids will finish theirs, and that will give us an uptick in the number of kids engaged. And we have on that action step C around engaging in partnerships with local communities, we do have the Gateway to College program that is new this year. That's in a partnership with North Shore Community College, where we have 5 students attending North Shore full-time but earning dual credit at Revere High School. And these are kids who were either completely disengaged or in the process of disengaging from high school. So we would have lost them as dropouts without this program. I was at North Shore last week to meet with the program directors and other districts that are participating in this project. And all reports are that the project is very successful. All 5 of our students are still engaged. They're going to be finishing their first semester in December, and I'm working on plans now with Ms. Curry and Mrs. Finn at the high school for the 3 of us to go up and take these 5 kids out to lunch and just engage with them in a way that helps them know that we're still here for them and we're a partner. We want to partner in ensuring their success at North Shore as well. So we're working on it, but still more work to do for sure.
Thank you.
Do any of the members have any questions?
It's, that's what makes us so proud of the Revere Public Schools, that the superintendent and the other people would take the kids out to lunch. And wonderful for you too, because
Yes.
I'm sure you will enjoy that time
Yes.
also. But it's great. And what we've seen tonight and all of this makes us very, very proud. Thank you.
It's the kids and the teachers and the families are just amazing, and they're what make the school successful. The last item in the superintendent's report is 2017 MCAS results, and I'm going to pass this over to Dr. Mokaba, who is going to bring us through the current results and give us some information about the difference between these MCAS results and the ones we've seen in the past, as the state has now transitioned in grades 3 through 8 to MCAS 2.0. Dr. Mokaba?
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. If you could just hit the slide. Next slide, please. Oh, okay. So the next generation MCAS, as Dr. Kelly said, our students in grades 3 through 8 took this assessment this past spring. And just to summarize, this is really an updated version of what was the MCAS that began nearly 20 years ago. It focuses on students' critical thinking abilities, application of knowledge, and the ability to make connections between reading and writing. This test is designed to give a clearer signal of readiness for the next grade level or college and career. Ultimately, this is going to be a computer-based assessment for us. It already is. We're a little bit ahead of the curve there. It was first given this spring in grades 3 through 8 in English and math. Eventually, the next generation MCAS will replace all of the older legacy MCAS tests in grades 3 through 10. The most important point is that this spring that was a baseline year. This was a new test. And one thing that we took is that these spring scores should not be compared to previous years of student scores. And you're going to see as we dive into this data that the comparison that I used is to comparing our grade level performance to the state. So just to give a little bit about this test, the Legacy MCAS previously had students scoring either advanced, proficient, needs improvement, or warning. On this particular test, this next generation MCAS, the scores were exceeding expectations, meeting expectations, partially meeting expectations, or not meeting expectations. What I'm going to show you next is the grade level data for each of these tests. At the school building levels, our principals, our curriculum directors, Mr. Costa, Ms. Supis, and Dr. Porter, as well as our instructional coaches and our teachers have begun a deeper dive into their school level data to determine next steps. So grade 3, as you can see, the percent of students in Revere who were meeting and exceeding expectations was above the state average in grade 3. So we had 49% of our students meet or exceed expectations in ELA, and 53% of our students met or exceeded expectations in math. One area I want to highlight, the Beachmont School in particular had 66% of their students in math met or exceeded the state average, and in Paul Revere it was 69%. So just to highlight 2 schools that had strong performances at that grade level. Grade 4, in ELA, 49% of our students were meeting or exceeding expectations, while the state was at 48%. In math, 50% of our students were meeting or exceeding expectations, while 49% of our students in the state scored at this level. Some highlights in the grade 4 performance, at the Beachmont School, 84% of their students were meeting or exceeding expectations in math. Garfield Elementary also had a strong performance at grade 4 math. Grade 5 is where we begin to see a little bit of a dip in our performance when compared to the state. So 43% of our students were meeting or exceeding expectations, where in ELA, 49% of students at the state were meeting and exceeding expectations. In ELA, what we see is an increase in the complexity of the standards, preparing students for middle school. Here, students are expected to write a longer response. These responses are text-based essays or narrative essays, and text complexity and using multiple texts is increasing, and this is a skill that our 5th graders are focusing on. One highlight for ELA is that we saw solid growth overall at grade 5, with the median SGP falling between 40 and 71. In math, students are required to answer constructed response questions that require students to demonstrate a little bit of a deeper understanding. They have to show a deeper level of reasoning, and this is an area that we continue to expose our students to with rich math tasks. In grade 5, students also took the Science and Technology Engineering test. This was a legacy MCAS test. The percent of students that scored proficient or advanced was 40% when compared to 46% of the state. For us in the district, we've continued working to transition to the new science standards, and we're going to continue to use the resources such as Science from Scientists and STEM scopes to support rigorous science instruction in our elementary classrooms. This also is an area where in grades 4 through 8, we have teachers working to collaborate to develop common assessments, and this is something that we are working on this year. Grade 6, ELA and math. Now, grade 6 has historically been a challenge for us with the transition to middle school. This year, though, one highlight we observed is that we're performing closer to the state average. We also have seen solid pockets of growth at most of our schools. In ELA, 49% of our students were meeting or exceeding expectations compared to 50% of the state. In math, 46% when compared to 49% of the state. So this is an area that we continue to look at, that transition from 5th to 6th grade. Overall, we did see some strong pockets of performance here. 7th grade ELA and math. Grade 7 ELA, 45% of our students were meeting or exceeding expectations compared to 50% of students in the state. Grade 7 math has historically been one of our toughest, this is one of our toughest tests. Here, 35% of our students were meeting or exceeding expectations compared to 47% of the state. So we see a little bit of a gap widening here. This year in math, we're working to increase our expectations at the 7th grade level. Mr. Costa is working with our math coaches to support teachers in rigorous math instruction. In 8th grade, ELA, 45% of our students were meeting or exceeding expectations compared to 49% of the state. In math, 39% were meeting or exceeding expectations compared to 48% of the students in the state. So again, here you can see we have a little bit of a gap, something that we are absolutely addressing in our math classrooms. 8th grade students also took a legacy science, technology, and engineering assessment. Here, students are assessed on 3 years worth of content, so basically the science that they've learned in 6th, 7th, and 8th, they take a test at the end of 8th grade. Speaking myself as a former middle school principal, the challenge with this particular assessment is that it's after our 8th graders have already taken ELA and math. It's typically later on in the year. We've historically struggled with this test. As we continue to transition to the new science standards, we feel that we're positioned well for next year. The MCAS test next year will be assessing the overlap between the new standards and the old standards. We believe we're in a good position right now to begin that transition and take the assessment this coming year, so we're looking forward to that data. Our 10th graders took the Legacy MCAS test. As you can see here, we increased the percentage of students scoring proficient and advanced this year when compared to last year. So with this Legacy test, you are able to compare 2006 previous student scores to this year. So we did see an increase in the percent of students scoring proficient or advanced when compared to last year. Overall, 75% of our students scored proficient or advanced when compared to 79% of the state. Our math team at Revere High School and Mr. Costa, the STEM director, continue to work to meet the needs of our students. They are looking closely at student data on quarterly assessments and at several points throughout the year, implementing data cycles to determine the standards or concepts that require revisiting or reteaching. Grade 10 ELA, as you can see here, 88% of our grade 10 students scored advanced or proficient this year on ELA, compared to 91% of the state. One area we continue to work on is the performance of our English language learners. As a district, we continue to work with our literacy coaches, particularly at the secondary level, to support classroom teachers in effectively implementing the retail strategies in the classroom, and even to support our recently exited ELLs in ELA. This is the science test, is science, technology, and engineering. This too is a legacy test. Here, 73% of our students scored advanced or proficient on a high school science test. For our students, this was primarily the biology assessment. As you can see here, we were just about on par with the state, with 74% of the state scoring advanced or proficient. We did see a slight increase in the percent of students scoring advanced, so that was a highlight there with this particular test. As far as accountability levels, due to the change in the assessment to the next generation MCAS, our elementary and middle schools did not receive an accountability level this year. Revere High School did take the Legacy MCAS test and was designated a level 3. However, overall, the district remains a level 2 district. Thank you.
Any questions from any of the members?
With the 8th grade math being down, math is math, so bilingual shouldn't even play a part into it. Any reasoning for the math scores to have dropped?
I'm trying to get the slide up here for you. All right, from current side, okay. So the scores at the 8th grade haven't necessarily dropped over last year. We are lower than the state, but we were lower than the state was last year too. And we really think that one of the things that we need to focus on a little bit more heavily is increasing the level of rigor and the amount of cognitive demand that we're asking kids to engage in on a regular basis in their math classes, which then will influence how they're able to do on the test. So, but one thing I will mention, you know, Dr. Mokaba spoke about how at grades 3 and 4 in particular, we exceeded the state averages on both math and ELA. And then we were close, but not quite there in grades 5 and 6. And then a little bit more of a gap in grades 7 and 8, and also at 10. I just want to remind everybody that we face a lot of challenges with different demographics of students that are entering in our schools, some who entered less than, or maybe just over a year ago. So despite the fact that we're not always beating the state average, I think it's impressive that we are still able to do so well and come so close to the state averages when we face a lot of different kinds of academic needs than some other districts do that are included in the state average. So it's worth noting that we embrace every single kid who comes to us. Our goal as a school district is to meet them where they are and take them to where they need to be, regardless of the where they are starts. And so, you know, it's hard work, but it's work that our teachers are really dedicated to doing. And, you know, with the support of this school committee, how many additional, when you think about it in just the last couple of years, how many additional ELL teachers did you give us? And how many different special ed inclusion teachers did you give us that have enabled us to meet the unique needs of all of the individual kids? So it's really a testament to this committee and to all of the teachers in the district that we're able to either exceed or in some cases come close. And our goal is always to beat the state. So our focus going forward will be on those grade levels and those disciplines where we didn't quite make it this year.
But the difference is you look for a level playing field, and every time you come level with the state, they change the rules. So when they control it, they can play on it whichever way they want.
They're like Lucy with the football.
Well, still, you know, I remember the very first MCAS result, you know, 20 years ago, and we had one classroom in the entire city that had even an acceptable score. And there's been so much work on the part of teachers and administrators since 1997 to get to where we are. And again, the rules have been changed all along. The children have changed. We have an increasingly diverse population, which sometimes doesn't have the education all the way through. So with all of that, I think our teachers deserve a great deal of respect and gratitude, and the administrators too, for how far we have come. Thank you.
I have a question. I noticed that it looked like the middle scores started to dip a little bit, you know, as from the 6th to 7th into the 8th grade. Is that a concern for, you know, I mean, I'm sure it's a concern, but is there anything we could do to make it better? As I noticed that as we went higher up, the scores seemed to be really going the wrong way, you know, overall versus the state level. And you can take numbers and you can do whatever you want with them. You can spin them any way you can. But, I mean, are we really concerned about these scores as a whole, or are they just their numbers?
So I guess what I would say, it's interesting that you made a very astute observation that the gap gets wider as the grades go up, which is different than what the scores used to do under the legacy MCAS. It used to be that our 6th grade scores were our most challenging, and by the time we got to 8th grade, we were catching up with the state. This year, they're reversed. And, you know, with the new MCAS 2.0, I do think that we need to take a minute and just see if there's any trend in the data before we make any sweeping changes. We're certainly sharing all of this with teachers and looking at the results down to the classroom level so that teachers can look at their practice and what they might need to address in their own classroom. And Mr. Costa is looking at it at a grade level span to see if there are things in particular schools or across the district that we need to do. So they are doing those deep dives into the data, and they are doing the data cycles at the middle school and the elementary school, just like they're doing it that Dr. Mokaba mentioned at the high school. So they are doing that interim assessment, seeing how the kids made out, reteaching, and then checking for understanding to see if the kids have closed those gaps. But it will be interesting to see if this trend continues after this first baseline year. We hope that the work that we're doing is going to move us up above the state average at all 3 grade levels, and we're especially optimistic in the fact that our 8th graders typically do at or above the state average, so we think that we'll recover that as the kids get used to new testing, the teachers get used to new testing, and our curriculum and our program evolves to address that.
And I also think that part of the problem is our population every year is going up 200-300 kids.
It is.
So when you're taking more kids, the scores are going to sort of go to a point where they're going to level themselves off.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, when you really look at the data, you got to compare apples to apples.
That's right.
So if you're comparing yourself to another city or town, do they have the same amount of kids that you have with the same challenges to a degree? So that's how the numbers, sort of make a little bit of sense.
Right.
So it's a very trying thing, and you know, the teacher's doing a great job, and you know, there's not a lot you can do when you get 30, 35 kids in a classroom. It's an impossible situation for everybody. So hopefully, you know, the numbers will get better for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to add on to that, with our population of students in the schools, I believe we're held accountable. If they're here for at least a year, they are required to take the test and are held accountable, regardless of their past schooling. Some may not, you know, some of our high school students that may have taken the test may not have had schooling throughout their years until they actually came to us. So that is another reason that plays into the factor where the scores could change a little bit. But
that's right.
Just wanted to add that in. Thank you.
And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, next on the agenda, public participation. Seeing that there is no one here, none. Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. Vote required. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferranti?
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Sinella?
Yes.
Ms. Ty?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda, report of subcommittees. None. Old business? None. Any new business?
None.
Okay, school committee interests?
Say none.
Not today? Okay, next on the agenda, and motions?
I have 2 here. One is for yourself. I'm not sure if that got pulled or not.
The motion about the bikes?
Yeah.
We can read that.
You want me to read it? It's a motion made by Ms. Gravellisi to have Kyle Swenson advise the school committee on the increased usage and presence of OFA bikes on school property, and if there's a need for more bike racks to be installed at the high school and middle schools.
Second?
Roll call? All in
All in
favor?
favor, all opposed?
Oh, yeah, all in favor.
And the other motion we have is to accept the $100,000 personal learning grant from CCE for the Garfield Middle School. I mean, I have a 3-page thing here, but I'm just going to read the first paragraph. I'm sure that, you know, they don't want to really know the whole thing. It says, "Dear Samantha, congratulations. The Center for Collaborative Education, the Next Generation Learning Challenges regional partner, has approved a grant for $100,000 to Garfield Middle School and Revere Public Schools to become a mass personalized learning network implementation school. The purpose of this grant is to support the school's launch or transformation, including salary, stipends, consultants, travels, materials, conferences, and food.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Always happy to make motions of accepting $100,000.
Roll call.
Mr. Franti?
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Sinella?
Yes.
Ms. Ty?
Yes.
Next on the agenda. Next on the agenda, executive session, seeing we have no reason for that. And that would now conclude today's meeting of the Revere School Committee.
Madam Chairperson?
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to wish our colleague a speedy recovery. Mrs. Rizzo has had some back surgery, and for her to miss a meeting, and she wanted to come.
Yes.
So again,
Thank you, Ms.
speedy
Fowler.
recovery.
Yes, we're all surprised. We figured she'd be here no matter what, but she's just getting home from the hospital. So we wish her all the best for a speedy recovery. Thank you, Mr. Sinella. Anyone else? Okay. Adjournment. This concludes tonight's meeting of the Revere School Committee. Our next meeting will be December 19th. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.